بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. من يهدي الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear sisters, my dear daughters, welcome back to a new episode of the biography of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. I would just like to remind you about the last lecture we took about the beginning of the opposition and against the da'wah and the invitation of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, and the new Muslims at that time, the beginning, the nucleus of the Islam at that time, and how that opposition took different ways. At the beginning, it was like ignorance and about what is happening by the Muslims, and then after ignoring, they start to mocking from the Muslim and mocking from the Prophet, start to making the black propaganda against his personality alayhi salatu wassalam by mentioning about him that he is a mad or he is a magician or that he is writing or being dictated the Quran, and he's the one who write it, although that all of them know that he cannot read or write. Then after that, when this message was not helpful for them, they started to make like negotiations with Prophet, that maybe he compromise some of the religion and take some of the religion to come to a middle way. And moreover, they offered him to worship Allah for 1 year, and he worshiped their idols for another year. And that's why the Surah Al-Kafirun, as we mentioned, came to clear cut this thing that the deen is clear, and the one who wants to be Muslim, be Muslim. The one doesn't want, it's okay. There is no forcing in acceptance of Islam. And as we mentioned, after they found all these techniques is not fruitful with them, they started to use the force and use the persecution and the torture of the Muslims we mentioned before. And we stopped at the transgressions they started to do for Muslims. So inshallah, today we're going to continue from the transgressions they did, what they said about Prophet Muhammad, that he is calling him the man cut of offspring. What does it mean, the man cut of offspring? I just want to stop a little bit here in the family life of Prophet Muhammad while he was in the beginning, in the early beginning of the da'wah, or in the inviting others to Islam. So we know that he married to Lady Khadija radiallahu anha, and she is considered to be the main supporter for him, and how she supported him at the beginning of the da'wah, and how she mentioned to him that he will be that he will have a very honorable mission. So actually, he had from her daughters and sons. The daughters are 4 daughters: السيدة فاطمة الزهراء, السيدة زينب, السيدة رقية, السيدة كلثوم. These are 4 daughters and 2 sons, Abu al-Qasim wa Abdullah. So Abdullah and Abu al-Qasim are the only 2 sons, and the daughters were 4. Also, I would like to mention that Ruqayya and Kulthum were married to the 2 sons of his uncle Abu Lahab. Remember Abu Lahab, the first opponent to him from his family, and how he was very open-hearted to towards Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam. 2 daughters of Kulthum and Ruqayya supposed to have their husbands of the 2 sons of Abu Lahab, and after Prophet Muhammad started the da'wah, he told, Abu Lahab told his sons to divorce the two daughters of the Prophet. So I just want you to focus a little bit on the family. What's happening to the family now? The family is being attacked, that Prophet Muhammad by himself, in his personality is attacked. His two daughters being divorced without no guilt. They didn't do anything, just because they are the daughters of him. And the two sons died. At that time, for the tribes, as we mentioned, they were very proud of the sons and they hate the daughters. And as we mentioned, one of their habits that they used to bury the daughter when it's baby daughter buried where when she's still alive, because they don't want to have a baby daughters. So the two sons of the Prophet, which considered to be the son at that time, the Arab is very proud of their sons because they consider that they will carry the name of the family after a long time. That if the father died, still the son will carry, and then the son will marry and have another son, and so on. So the name of the family will still present. It will not vanish, or it will not end. And that's why the daughters, they thought that the daughter, when she marries, she will follow her husband, so the name of the family will be disappeared. And this is what they believe, yani, so completely wrong concept. So they started to attack Prophet Muhammad from this point, that alayhi salatu wasalam, he doesn't have any sons, so his remembrance and his name will not be anymore be mentioned after his death. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the surah that was like a gift for Prophet Muhammad, and to tell him not hear to them or not care about what they are saying. It was Surah Al-Kawthar, Surah Al-Kawthar in the Juz 30 of the Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning to his Prophet, verily we have granted you Al-Kawthar, and Al-Kawthar is a river in paradise, as mentioned by him, alayhi salatu wassalam. And this river is a gift. It is a gift from Allah to Prophet Muhammad. So he mentioned to him, verily we have granted you Al-Kawthar, therefore turn in prayer to your Lord and sacrifice to him only. So which means turn to your prayer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to your Lord. فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ, which means do your prayer for your Lord and don't hear about what they are saying, because you have granted a very precious gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Kawthar. So keep in praying and keep doing your praying and your ritual, and don't listen to your enemies, because indeed your enemy, he will be cut off. Cut off of what? All the disbeliever will be cut off from every good thing in this world and in the hereafter. Every good thing in this world, which means that the remembrance of any person when he died, it's not by the name of his family. The remembrance of any person who passed away by the good deeds he did, good communications and good relation to others. And as we mentioned yesterday, in the things that will stay after the person pass away is the sadaqah jariyah, is the knowledge that people get benefit of it, and a son, righteous son that pray for him. So it's not the name of the family will make him immortal or will make his remembrance all the time, is being mentioned. Also, they will be cut off from the paradise. They will not enter. This is the real loss. The real loss is that they will be kept in Jahannam, khalidina fiha. Yeah, and so they will stay eternally in the hellfire. Walayadu billah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to support his prophet by telling him or by revealing to him this ayat from Surah Al-Kawthar. Also, I would like to add another thing regarding the appreciation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, that the shahada, al-shahada, the testimony that the person, if a person wants to go to Islam or to enter to Islam, he should say the shahada. The first criterion to be Muslim is to say the shahada. What is the shahada is saying? The shahada is saying, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that his messenger is Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. If you say the first phrase without mentioning Muhammad, it's not complete shahada, which means that Allah appreciated his prophet, his final prophet, by associating his name to the name of him, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The shahada will not be accepted except if they mention the name of Prophet Muhammad with the name of Allah. The name of Prophet Muhammad mentioning every second with the name of Allah in every adhan, in every prayer all over the world with the different times. We can say now we are here evening in UK, it's the beginning of the morning in Australia, and it's still now it is in the noon in USA. All these are the time of prayers. So every second there is a new prayer and mentioning the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during the adhan or the call of prayer, mentioning the name of Allah, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. So the remembrance of Prophet Muhammad after his death, more than 1400 years up till now, been mentioning, I don't know how many times. Yani, subhanallah, in the one day only from these 1400 years, you can imagine how many times per day and multiply these times by 1400. So how many times the remembrance of Prophet Muhammad. In addition, that what we, the believers, we are saying as one of our dhikr by saying Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, especially tomorrow, the Fridays, usually as I mentioned before. So what type of appreciation Prophet Muhammad had? A lot. But at that time, he was suffering. At that time, he was suffering. That's why the surah revealed to him in order to make softening Allah, as if Allah is making him in a good condition and he's treating him when he is surrounded by all these people and all these enemies. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to soothe him by such ayat and gifts. Jamil bint Harb, she is the wife of Abu Lahab. Again, we'll come to Abu Lahab. We know, of course, that Abu Lahab, there is a specific surah in Quran, Surah Al-Masad, just came for Abu Lahab and his wife. His wife used to tie bundles of thorns with ropes of twisted palm leaf fiber and strew them about in the path of which Prophet Muhammad will expect it to take in order to cause him injured. That's why she came, the description in Surah Al-Masad for her, the carrier of firewood, Hammalat al-Hatab. In the hellfire during her punishment in the day of judgment, she will carry, despite of this bundle of thorns, she will carry firewood. She will carry firewood which will burn her. So the punishment will be like what she did in her life. And of course, she's bringing this, the surah describing that she's bringing these firewoods for her husband to eat from these firewoods. And she's supposed to have a necklace. She said, I will sell this necklace and take the money in order to oppose Muhammad and his da'wah. Allah is mentioning fi jidiha hablun al-masad, means in her neck there will be a rope from such hard balms, twisted balms that she used to put in the way of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Also another event she did, that she held with her a stone and she went where Prophet Muhammad and his friend Abu Bakr is sitting around the Kaaba. She wanted to throw the stone on the head of Prophet Muhammad back, and she came to Abu Bakr and told him, we have disobeyed the dispraised one, rejected his call, and alienated ourselves from his religion. She started to speak to Abu Bakr, and she didn't mention, she didn't see Prophet at that time. So when she left, Abu Bakr returned to the Prophet and inquired about the matter. The Prophet ﷺ assured him that she didn't see him. Allah had taken away her sight. Allah had taken away her sight so that she didn't see Prophet Muhammad, although that he was standing with his friend Abu Bakr, as Allah protected his Prophet. I'm just telling you these events. I want you to imagine how these events, we are sitting and we are just telling these events in a resting position. I want you to imagine how Prophet Muhammad was dealing with such circumstances every day. Now, if we are taking our car and going to any place we want, and then someone that make us angry, or some you came all the day angry because of that, because maybe something is very tiny will make us angry all the day. I want you to imagine that his life at that time was like that. Every time in the morning, he found someone who wants to throw him with a stone, this lady, for example, and or can put the dirt and the thorn things in his way. Other call him you are mad. Other call him you are a magician. Other call him you are liar. And now another one here. Another thing happened while Prophet Muhammad was prostrating during his prayer around the Kaaba. Abu Jahl is one of the disbelievers, strongest disbeliever, to the degree that Prophet Muhammad told about him that he is a pharaoh of that time. Fir'aun هذه الأمة. The pharaoh of that time was Abu Jahl. He was hating him so much. Asked his companion to bring the dirty intestines of a she camel and place it on his back. And the one who did that, someone called Uqba ibn Abi Ma'it, who hastened this ignoble act. In the meanwhile, Fatima al-Zahra, his daughter, she was passing at the same time and found that she was quickly went to her father, and she removed the felt from her father's back and took him, and they went back home. The Prophet Muhammad invoked the wrath of Allah upon them. Those who are sitting at that time and laughing from him, he invoked the wrath of Allah upon them. Abu Jahl, Utbah ibn Rabi'a, Shayba ibn Rabi'a, Al-Walid ibn Utbah, Umayyah ibn Khalaf, Uqba ibn Abi Ma'id. All of them were killed in the Battle of Badr, except Uqba ibn Ma'id. Uqba ibn Ma'id were killed by a lion. Killed by a lion. That this is also was from the dua of Prophet Muhammad on him, because actually they hurted him so much psychologically and physically, and he asked Allah wrath to be upon them, and this has happened. All of those people, we are speaking about maybe 7 or 8 years after that event, that happened to them. 7 or 8 years, because our Prophet stayed in Mecca around 13 years. We said that the first 3 years is secret call. From the fourth onwards, it was announcement of the call. So you have around maybe 10 years. This has happened, around 10 years. Around 10 years after that event, they been killed in the Battle of Badr, when the Muslims have their battle against the disbelievers. So this is another difficult situation happened to the Prophet. Another difficult situation coming now. Another disbeliever called Ubay ibn Khalaf. Ubay ibn Khalaf actually he did a very shameful act. He took old decomposed bones and blew the powder on him, alayhi salatu wassalam. And he told him mocking, "Shall we return back from such decayed bones?" So Prophet answered, "Allah will make you die and reviving you and will make you enter the hellfire." And about this conversation, the ayat in Surah Yasin came, ayah 78 and ayah 79, mentioning, and he presents for us an example. This is related to this disbeliever, Ubay ibn Khalaf. And he presented for us an example and forgets his own creation. He says, "Who will give life to bones while they are disintegrated or decomposed or decayed?" Say means qul, say Muhammad, he will give them life. Who produced them in the first time? The answer was very simple. The one who created this bone at the first place, he is the one who is going to revive it back. And he is of all creation knowing. So this was the most prominent situations and events of injury and hurt came to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam during his da'wah, and actually he was not alone that having this hurt. His companions also, they bear a lot of pain. Osman ibn Affan, one of the third Khalifa after the Prophet, and he is the one who married to the two daughters that been divorced from the two sons of Abu Lahab. He married first Ruqayya, and when she died, he married after her Kulthum. The two daughters that been married before to the two sons of Abu Lahab being married after that to Uthman. Uthman was from a tribe called Umayyah, Banu Umayyah, and he was the son of the leaders of his tribe, and his uncle was very upset when he knows that he entered Islam and started to make different torture to him, wrapping him and set fire around him in order to make him back to their original religion. But he was kept firm on Islam. Also, another companion, his name is Mus'ab ibn Umair. Mus'ab ibn Umair, his mother heard about his conversion to Islam. She put him to starvation and expelled him from her house. Another companion, very famous, I think he was a black slave from Al-Habasha, which is Ethiopia now, being as a slave for Umayyah ibn Khalaf. You can Umayyah ibn Khalaf, if you we mentioned in the previous two slides, one was mocking when the Prophet was prostrating in the Kaaba. He has this slave who was severely beaten by his master. When after that a rope was put from the ways of being tortured is being a rope was put around his neck, and street boys were made to drag him through the street of Mecca. And moreover, he was tortured severely by placing heavy stone, where 4 strong men carried it with difficulty. This stone was placed on his chest, radiallahu anhu, and was left at that position in the hot desert, in the hot weather of Mecca, in order to make him revert back to the shirk, but actually he stayed firm on Islam. Another story about a family of Yasir, Ala Yasir. Ala Yasir is a family of a father and a mother and a son. The father is Yasir, and his wife is Sumayya, and their son is Ammar. So the family were heavily tormented And Prophet every time he passed through them, he say to him, be patient. Be patient, you will verily find your abode in the paradise. So at that time, there was no, there was no power enough for the Muslims to can re-attack or attack the disbelievers. They had to be patient because they still don't have a army or soldiers, or they are not prepared for any type of confrontations with the disbelievers. So the orders came from the Prophet to them, and of course, and you revealed from Allah, because as we're going to see, Prophet Muhammad is doing his actions according to the revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he asked them to be patient. And what happened? The mother and the father were died under the great torment happened to them. And Ammar, he saw them dying in front of his eyes. And at that time, he became weak and couldn't bear. And he uttered the word of disbelieving, as they want him to return back to their religion. And after they left him, he went to Prophet and started to cry and told him, "O Prophet of Allah, I'm still Muslim. I'm still having Islam in my heart. I'm just was very painful in me. I couldn't bear down what they are doing to me." So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed in Surah An-Nahl, and this ayah is in Surah An-Nahl, because I mentioned last week in a different surah. So yani, forgive me about that. It is in Surah An-Nahl that whoever disbelieved in Allah after his belief, except him who is forced thereto and whose heart is at rest with faith. So in that ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning that the one who forced to say by his tongue that he's not a believer under the effect of the severe torment or torture, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive him and accept that from him, because his heart is full of faith. So now we pass through difficult time. Now it is a very difficult time for the da'wah, for the start of the Islam in Mecca. They started with the slaves, and then with the poor people, and then with the companions of the Prophet. And the Prophet himself, as we mentioned, the different situations. So the Prophet advised the new converters, and subhanallah, and with all these pain, people who are hearing, who are really searching for justice. Because at that time, one of the great meanings of the Islam as a new religion is justice, because most of the people, as we mentioned, it is two main class society or social class, a very high social class and very low social class, and the transgression coming from the high to the low, and the people are searching for justice and for just. And this is what came with Islam, with that all people like each other. No one is different, or there is no race. There is no racism in Islam. No one is better than other one, except with the at-taqwa, or the righteousness. And I can assure you that the taqwa, you cannot have the taqwa as something to be felt, because it's something between you, something to be shown, because it is something between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People may be very ordinary, very normal to you, norms, and maybe he is very near to Allah. Maybe he will make dua to Allah, he will be immediately responded to him. So the concept of taqwa or righteousness is not something that I can see, oh yes, this is righteous, this is not. This is righteous, this is not. No, we cannot say that. So even though we cannot judge on anyone that he is better than other one, we see Allahu A'lam. Allah knows the best. Even it is the best sheikh, if it is the best scholar, If it is that, so I see it is the best scholar, but Allahu A'lam what his intention. Maybe someone who is ordinary is just passing through the street is better than him. You don't know. So this is Islam. Islam is making the people, all the people are the same, and all the people have the same responsibility and the same what we call it يعني rights. So you cannot say I am better than him. And the one who said that was the shaitan. The first one said this phrase was the shaitan, and his punishment was being away from the mercy of Allah. Rajim. Rajim means he was being pushed from the mercy of Allah. So that's why Islam is a great religion, that there is no racism in Islam, because you cannot know who is the one who is taqwa or aqrab ilallah or near to Allah, because taqwa in the heart. No one can know where is the taqwa or what is the markers of the taqwa. But we will say Allahu A'lam. Allah knows best. We don't know. We say that, but Allah knows best. Okay. So Prophet ﷺ advised the new converts to keep their identity and deeds concealed. Conceal their identity being Muslims. Conceal even the prayers. When they were used to do the prayers they did it secretly without raising their voice. They used to raise their voice in just two prayers, the Aisha prayer and the Fajr prayer. But the prayers that been done during the day, like Dhuhr and Asr and Maghrib, it is, or Maghrib, yes, Maghrib, it is Salah Jahriya, or I can make it with a more louder voice. But for the Dhuhr and the Asr, it is a silent prayer. And up till now, we are doing that. If you make a Jama'ah or making the Salah in congregation, you will have these two prayers, the Zuhr and the Asr is mentioning secretly, while the other prayers will be mentioned in louder form. So this was one solution, but it was not the final solution, or it was not fruitful so much, because still Mecca is not a large place, and there are people and eyes everywhere. Even if you're going to have concealing, still they being followed. And also there was another thing that resulted in secretive meeting at the house of Al-Arqam ibn Abi al-Arqam. Actually, it is the first house of Muslim to be gathered for Prophet Muhammad in order to teach them the new Islam and the guidelines and rules of the Islamic faith. And this was in the house of one of the believers. His name is Al-Arqam ibn Abi al-Arqam. And subhanallah, the seerah doesn't mention much about this companion, except that his house was the house for the Muslims at the beginning of the da'wah. So subhanallah, yani, maybe what he did, just opening his house for the da'wah and for Prophet Muhammad to come to teach the new Muslim, make his remembrance up till now, after 1400 years, we still having and saying his name. And even there is actually, maybe in Egypt, there is many types of Quran centers, Quran memorization centers have this name, Al-Arqam, as a appreciation for such companion, radiallahu anhu. So they used to meet in secretly and used to conceal their identity and conceal their prayers, as we mentioned. But also this didn't stay long, until the sign and the signal to the first migration came. As we are mentioning, the condition were evidently going downhill. Allah revealed his prophet and companions by revealing to them verses of Surah Al-Kahf. Surah Al-Kahf is what we're going, inshallah, to read tomorrow, having many stories. From these stories, that the people or the youth, the believers, they escape with their religion to the Kahf, to the cave, away from the tyrant king that present at that time. After revealing of such ayat, the beginning of Surah Al-Kahf, and mentioning Allah the story of those youth, it was like a signal for the Prophet, and he told the Muslims at that time that who can start to migrate, start by migrate now. And the migration, this is called the first migration. The gradual migration happened, where this migration will occur, who will go in this migration, what will happen in the other countries the Muslim will go, how they will manage themselves, and what more will happen events with the Prophet Muhammad in Mecca after the first migration, and some of the people left Mecca after that. This is and more we're going to have it inshallah in our next episode. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.